Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go! Now, is this derogatory to say ginger? Is that derogatory?
Some people think it is.
Do you?
No, it doesn't bother me. But some people think that only redheads can say that word.
Okay, can I say it? To you?
I'll let you say it. Yeah.
To you?
Yeah.
I thought a ginger like you doesn't like the sun. What the hell are you doing outside baking like a potato?
Here's the problem: is that I love the sun. The sun hates me. You know,
Yeah.
it's a one-way love. So
Yeah.
I love. There's nothing more than I love than laying on the beach all day.
Yeah,
I do in my backyard all day.
I gotta be by a pool, by a beach. I used to just love it, but unless I'm with the drink in my hand by the pool or by the beach, I just can't do it anymore. I in fact sat at the shade today before this interview to watch my nephew playing senior men's fastball or hardball
Nice.
at Curry Field, the home of the champion Regina Red Sox.
Yeah.
How about that, John?
How about that? You know, they went down 1-0 to Sylvan Lake at home. I didn't think they had a shot, but you know, it kind of felt like a bit of a team of destiny this year. Good for them.
Yeah, you know what? Overcame the death of the young kid, Jesse Lubanicki, and found a way to win. All three of their titles have been on the road.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the other night, it looked like a pretty impressive crowd at Curry Field, 1,800 or something like that, around 2,000 fans, which, I mean, is definitely shows that the city can support a new ballpark. Yeah,
with Al Simpson and Sean Semple, trying to get that going, and obviously winning doesn't hurt. It's special to win something collegiately like that, like a collegiate league like that, isn't it?
It's so special because, you know, I've been a part of it with the Portland Pickles, and we won last year. We lost in the final this year. But, you know, these guys come from all over. You know, they're living with host families all summer. They kind of come together. They end up playing, 58 games together. They kind of become like a little family. It's all they have is each other when they're here. And it becomes a pretty special thing.
Did you guys get screwed up like the Red Sox? Like the Red Sox lost 2 pitchers down the stretch here to pro contracts. They lost an outfielder and a first baseman. So they lost bats and arms and still found a way to get it done.
Yeah, it's just the way it works at that level. I think 2024 when we won it, we had 90 different players play on the team over the course of the year. So you're filling spots all the time because, you know, some guys go to school late, some guys have to go early. It's a whole thing, and we had 5 All-Stars this year, and 4 of them had to leave before the end of the year. So it's kind of the part of the way it goes with this level ball.
I've got a 5 head. Okay, you've got your regular 4 head. I got my haircut today. You got your haircut today. How long does it take to get your haircut? And what does your haircut cost? Mine cost $33 at Tommy Gunn's with the tip. But I mean, let's be honest, it's a buck a hair.
I think today with the tip, I think it was $107.
Wow.
It takes her about 25 minutes. She's been doing my hair for over a decade, so I continue to go with her. She's good. Everything costs double in California, I swear.
No, I know. And you know what's funny? LA it's expensive, but you know the place that's even more expensive? I've never been there, and I probably will never go, is Vegas. Like, we're talking about nobody going to Vegas right now. Part of it is Canadians, but that's not just it. It's airlines, it's the prices. They're going to have to lower their prices or something there.
It's funny to say that. My wife is in Las Vegas right now for 8 days. She's doing a residency at the MGM. She's a stand-up comedian, obviously. Yeah. She's there for 8 days, and tonight is night number 2. But she didn't say anything about that. But I've seen pictures, and I know they say it's down 11%. By the pictures I've seen, it looks like it's a lot more than that. And Vegas has just been overpriced. I was there at the pool. What was it in March? And a big drink at the pool was $45.
That's ridiculous.
So I don't know if it was a double vodka or whatever, but I'm thinking of $45 for a drink. In Vegas, you're expected to tip probably $15 on top of that.
Yeah, and you know Vegas is the home of a bunch of $30,000 a year millionaires, right? Like they're pricing themselves out of like you'll go there, from what I'm told, and just what I have as a mental note is like you got people in their board shorts and flip flops and jeans and a t-shirt. It's not like they're in their Pierre Cardin suits or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, it's a different town. I don't know. It's usually I like to go there for about 2 nights and get out. You know, and if someone's comping the hotel, great. But other than that, I've been going there for so long that I'm kind of over it.
What's it like to be a bachelor now? Like, what do you do now that you don't when your wife's there?
You know what I do that I don't is I have to feed about 15 neighborhood cats. I got to feed my cats, all 3 of my cats, all day. So it just I take over for. That's what happens. You marry someone who has a huge heart and takes care of all these animals. I have to step in and do it for her. But I'm not complaining. But
yeah. That's crazy. Okay, so let's get to some football talk. Let's start with the CFL. Brett Lother's struggling. I mean, he hit a 59-yard field goal. Good on Coach Mace to put him out there to give him a shot of confidence with the wind, but he's banging him off the pipe. He's missing a 27-yard field goal. I know it's into the wind, but the Hamilton guy didn't seem to have a lot of problems with it. How, as a punter, can you, like as the holder, can you counsel a guy or help him out, or do you even get in that?
I think in this situation, not really. I mean, Joe Couch is the rookie. He's played 9 games in the CFL. He's just trying to figure his out too. He's just trying to figure out the game as he goes as well. So, I don't think a guy like Brett Lawler is going to necessarily look to him for a pep talk or anything like that. I still talk to Brett, at least once a week, and he's going through it a little bit right now, and it happens. And the great thing about Brett is Brett, he never makes an excuse. He'll miss 3, and he'll sit there in the locker room for 30 minutes and wait for the media to come in when every other guy would have been running for the exits. It's who he is, and I'll make excuses for him. Those are some tough kicks to make. And I guarantee you, he's going to tell you he's the first guy that will admit that he should have made them. But when you're kicking towards that south side with that wind, when that ball hits the end of the stadium, it's just like a wall. It's just like a wall right there. You don't know what's going to happen. And I saw a couple of those from him. But as I said, he knows he has to make those. And the best thing that can happen to a kicker that's struggling is your team wins. It's the absolute best thing that happens. They're 8-1 right now. He hasn't kicked his best, but they're winning. And if they can keep on winning, he's gonna be there for them come down this last 9 games.
Okay, so I call it like I see it and I say it and it's there. Okay. So I watch him and I like Brett Lother. He showed last year he could pull himself out of a funk. I just kind of see where he's going to miss a field goal in a big spot. But you're right. He's a stand-up guy. He was there again today making self-deprecating jokes about himself, just like he would. And he stand, I'd like to be talking about other guys, but instead I got to talk to you about how crappy I am at kicking a ball. When very well in his mind, he knows he's not crappy. He's just having a bad stretch. But what leads you to believe, is it just what he did last year that he's going to pull himself out? Because if I'm watching this going, I feel like there's shades of Paul McCallum where it's going to be like a chip shot field goal, and I hope nobody throws crap on his lawn. That's not what I'm saying. I love Brett Lother, but that's kind of how I feel right now.
I feel it's going to be the opposite. I think he's going to come down the stretch. He's going to have big kicks, and he's going to hit them. I think I'm not saying anything bad about Paul McCallum by any means. The guy's one of the greatest to ever do it. But Brett's an athlete. Brett grew up playing hockey, tremendous hockey player, and he kind of fell into the football thing and became a really great kicker. And he really comes into it with a hockey player's mentality, which I love to see. It's not, oh, poor me, I'm just a soccer player. It's like, I got to make these kicks for you guys because I know how it works.
So Winnipeg, let's talk about situational coaching here. Now, I don't know how much you watched, but there were some situational plays that I sometimes scratch my head with coaching. So let's go to the Winnipeg-Ottawa game, okay? Now, I'm not going to get all over Mike O'Shea, and it's not because my kid's on the team, but Mike O'Shea has a recent example of a 63-yard game, then a game-winning field goal. They didn't win, but he nailed it. Could have nailed it from 67. I'm talking about Castillo. He has it 3rd and 1.5. They rarely get stopped. I think only once this year with Strevler, but he goes for the knockout punch on a 58-yard field goal, misses. Ottawa comes back and runs a touchdown, houses it. Just your thoughts on that whole decision.
It's tough, because obviously you believe in a guy like Sergio, but a guy's not going to always make the 58, 63-yarders every time. But, I think sometimes coaching, you just got to go with your gut, and you don't really know if he would have went for it and got stuffed, along 1.5 yards. People would have been saying, why didn't you just kick it? You got Sergio Castillo just made a 63-yard. You know what I mean? It's tough for a coach like that because you kind of live by the sword and die by the sword a little bit, but it's always easier for us after the game to kind of pick apart that.
why do coaches mostly keep the big hot? Like they don't really change it up to a special kind of long distance field goal. You know what I mean? They keep the fat guys out there, and they look like really pathetic mall walkers when they're going down to try to cover that kick, right? Because they're 300 pounds. Can you put like say a Cadwallader or a Hallett on the end, or an Ethan Ball that could run down and cover?
I know, like back in the day, you'd always have like your long range field. If you're outside of really 35-yard line, 40-yard line, you kind of have your interior guys, your guards and your tackles, and then outside of that, you have more of a linebacker type body that can kind of get down there quicker. And also usually the snappers in the CFL are a little bit smaller too, and they get down the field as well. But it's I know from a returner standpoint, if you catch that ball in the end zone on a missed field goal and you see 7 hogs coming at you, you're licking your lips.
Well, and that's what we've talked about it ad nauseum, but that's what makes that game great. You wouldn't see that in the NFL. Like you saw, I remember my Chargers playing the Vikings. Antonio Cromartie caught one on the end line on a missed field goal at the end of the half. It took it back like 109.9 yards, but you rarely see that in the NFL. Devin Hester did it once, but you rarely see it very, very often.
That's like a once every 2 or 3 year type thing, and you see it every other week in the CFL, which makes it exciting.
Okay, situational coaching. I think, and Ryan Hall and I talked about this, they value their timeouts maybe too much in the CFL. A few weeks back, Jeremiah Masoli's here for the Lions, and Buck Pierce is scrambling, like they're trying to hurry up. There's about 18 seconds left. Instead of calling a timeout, they throw a pick six to Tavon Campbell. He takes it all the way back because they rushed it. Here, Hamilton they got 2 timeouts. They got it in Rider territory. They're moving into the wind. There's 14 seconds. Instead of calling a timeout, they hurry up. Bo gets sacked, fumbles the ball. Lothar comes in and kicks a 59-yard field goal. Partly Bo's fault. That's a rookie mistake.
Sure.
But situational coaching, man.
I think part of it is what Luke Wilson was talking about, how the practice being only there for 4.5 hours, you don't get to go over as much things. You can go over in your head as many times as you want, but until you see it on the field, it's hard with your players. In Seattle, we had a situation early on in Pete's career where we went down before the half. We could have kicked the field goal. He went for it, didn't realize we didn't have a timeout. We're on like the 4-yard line, and we just eat it. And we go back in the locker room, and I've never seen Pete yell like this before. He absolutely lost his shit, yelling at himself, absolutely ripping himself apart. Like, he's basically screaming in the mirror. After that, every day at practice, we had 11:15 walkthrough, 11:15 to 12, or 11:45 walkthrough. Then we had 30 minutes after that, all situational. So every day we went through 30 minutes of situational football where an assistant coach, they'd script something out, whatever it was. We're on our own 30-yard line. We have 1:44 left, 1 timeout, and every day was a different situation, and everyone had to have their head in it because they could call for a field goal, whatever. And just be able to see that on the field and go through all those situations is something that you don't get to do in the CFL. And in the CFL, there's 10 times more situations that can pop up. You talk a long field goals, returner back, who do we got out there? So I go back to what Luke Wilson said, and just that being there only 4.5 hours a day is hard for the coaches to be able to go through all that stuff for their players.
Yeah, good point. Bob Dice, I love Bob Dice. You like Bob Dice, but Bob Dice. Sometimes I think coaches, they're doing one thing, but they're still in their old world. So like, finally, Ottawa's moving the ball. Drew Brown's hurt. Man, kid's great when he's healthy, but he's hurt. Yeah. Crum comes in. They're moving down into territory. They're down 27-10. And he kicks a field goal, like 3rd and 1.5 or something like that. And I'm like, that's where Bob Dice is thinking as a special teams guy and not a head coach. Conservatively, okay, so whatever. The chips fall into 27-27. They pick off a Zach Collaros pass. They know, or they should know, Winnipeg's got 1 timeout. He throws it on, they throw it on 1st down. Run it on 2nd down. Winnipeg gets the timeout, and now you get Castillo a chance to win the game. You're conservative on one hand, but not the other hand. Like, once again, situational coaching. Yeah,
as I said, there's so much that comes up in the CFL. It's, Bob. I love Bob Dice. He was one of my first coaches in 2004. He was a receiver coach at the time, but he was there in Winnipeg in 2004. Absolutely great guy, but when you're head coach, you got a lot more to think about. You got a lot more to think about, and as I said, sometimes, if you go one way, you look great. You get questioned if you go the other way, and vice versa. So it's tough.
Luke Wilson got into a little bit of hot water this week, and and I'll tell you what, you were right, and him and I are a lot closer than we initially thought, and so we're on the same page. So anyway, he got into hot water, a long tweet he had to take down, but basically he was saying what I was saying. Why are and you're a businessman, so weigh in on this. So the Argos are, and I don't know if you know this, but the World Cup is coming to U.S., Canada, and Mexico. It wasn't just announced last Tuesday. It's been about 3 years in the making, okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is there's been a chance to make a plan here, okay? And Toronto is going to play games. I don't know what BC's doing yet, but Toronto's going to play games in Regina, Winnipeg, and Hamilton, okay? To me, that is short-term gain for long-term pain because you've just basically uprooted your team. And I would think, like Luke was saying, couldn't you play at Western or Guelph where you have training camp, or York, or even U of T? Could you not play closer to home to not piss off your fan base you already have?
I think first of all, it's once in a lifetime opportunity to have the World Cup coming to Canada. I think someone. I'm a huge soccer fan over the last 10 years once Canada really got good over the last decade. And someone told me that, the World Cup is like 102 Super Bowls. That's how many games they play, 102 Super Bowls. There have been 13 of those games in Canada, which is phenomenal. And I'm so pumped about that, and I'm very glad they're playing in these two beautiful stadiums. But with that, we didn't just find out about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many years. And so I thought the obvious thing would Toronto just has a plethora of, 10 to 20,000 stadiums, more than any other city in Canada by far. That I thought they would play, as I said, at Western, at U of T. They have a rugby field right downtown that's 12,000 seats. The Toronto Wolfpack used to play at a professional rugby team. Out in BC, they put up a little stadium when they were renovating BC Place, and everyone said it was phenomenal. If you're going to do 3 games, that might be worth your while. I don't know what else they have out in BC, but just to give those games away, and all of a sudden you're going, we have 12 games on the road this year. I think it's definitely going to benefit teams like Saskatchewan where they get an extra home game. And now, because of that, they get to move a preseason game to Saskatoon and give the people in Saskatoon a game. So it's pretty cool for them. But for these teams, just to kind of give that up is a little head-scratching to me. It kind of seems like they're just kind of passing the buck and just kind of copping out of something that they don't want to deal with.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's talk quickly about the NFL. Anthony Richardson, not the starting quarterback now. Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback with the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah. I think this is part of the unfortunate legacy of Jim Irsay, the now deceased owner, God rest his soul. But Andrew Luck quits. They've been bailing water since Andrew Luck quit. So Andrew Luck quits. He gets Carson Wentz, and then Carson Wentz craps the bed, and he's like, "Get rid of Carson Wentz." And then they try Phillip Rivers, who does pretty well. Then they try Matt Ryan. Now let's get Anthony Richardson. So Irsay's gone. Richardson's on the shelf. And Daniel Jones, is he the worst draft pick of all time? Anthony Richardson, he's got to be up there.
You know what? I'll tell you what. 4th overall pick, right? He's played 15 games in 2 years, and now he's out. I think if you put Daniel Jones as starting quarterback, you can't go back. And I think Daniel Jones has to ride it out. Which was interesting when they signed Daniel Jones to a $14 million contract. That's not starter money. But it's definitely not backup money. So it's interesting to see how what they're going to do there. And I say 5 years ago I would have said he was an absolute bust. But now when I see guys like Sam Darnold, who was written off backup quarterback in San Francisco in 2023, then he comes and wins 14 games with the Vikings. Baker Mayfield, he was written off. He was done. Now he comes back and he's a Pro Bowler. Yeah. So if this was 5 years ago, I would have said absolute complete bust. And now I'm not going to write him off yet. I'm going to give him 3 more years. I think he's a bust. He's a bust for Indy. He's not coming back for Indy to be anything, I don't think. But he could go somewhere else and find a better place to play. We'll see. You
know who should make a trade for him? And I think Indy will trade for him because you've been in a locker room. He's going to have, and it's not his fault maybe per se, but he's going to have no cred in that locker room. They're going to have to, he'll just be a shadow, like a dark shadow of that locker room.
In terms of that, it's a totally different situation than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins owns that locker room. He's the man in that locker room. I guarantee it. But the situation is Kirk Cousins is making like $55 million this year to ride the pine. But you got to think you got to trade Richardson. You got to go somewhere. I mean,
how about Pittsburgh? Learn from Aaron Rodgers.
Great situation. I mean, the biggest problem with all these high drafted quarterbacks is they go to the worst teams. And then they're expected to turn that franchise around in a year or maybe two when you're getting drafted to the 30th worst team, or in this situation, the 29th worst team in the NFL at the time. And now you're expected to go in there as a young kid, 22 years old, and turn the franchise around. And it's hard to do. You know, I wish they gave some guys longer, but Anthony Richardson, you know, it's tough.
How long? What's the over/under in games before Shedeur Sanders is the starting quarterback in Cleveland?
Cleveland, man. You know,
Flacco's the guy right now.
Flacco's the guy. I think Pickett should be the backup.
Okay.
The massage parlor guy is out for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I think with a ruptured Achilles.
He's done.
And I love Dylan Gabriel too. I'm not mad about that pick. The problem is in Cleveland, they've had enough of this quarterback situation for the last 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's what's going to happen. The second Flacco has a bad game, or if they start 1-4, the fans aren't going to start chanting Pickett. The fans aren't going to start chanting Gabriel. The fans are going to start chanting Sanders. And to make those fans happy, because when you wrote me this earlier, you said, what do you think? I was like, there's no way he's going to start. He's not there yet.
Yeah.
But the pressure from the fans, and Cleveland has some freaking awesome fans, by the way, like absolute loyal fans who stuck with it for a long time and not been rewarded for anything. I think that he could be the starting quarterback in week 7, 8. I'll set the over under at 5.5.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my question. We'll wrap it up. I think it's a race to tank. I think New Orleans, Cleveland, and Indy could be tanking for Arch Manning. Arch Manning has connections in all three. His dad played for New Orleans.
Sure.
His uncle played for the Indianapolis Colts. Mm-hmm. And well, he doesn't have a connection in Cleveland, but Jimmy Haslam likes the high. He just go Johnny Manziel, the list go Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, the list goes on and on and on. So I think, where do you think he ends up if you're picking between those three teams?
See, I think that Indy and New Orleans could potentially be. I don't think they're tanking, but they're setting. I think Cleveland's trying to set themselves up to win, at least in their heads. Because I don't think you sign 5 quarterbacks that all could potentially be starters if you don't think you're going to win.
Yeah.
You don't draft 2 quarterbacks like that if you want to tank and go for the top guy next year. So I could see him going to one of those other teams. I mean, you look at New Orleans, who's the starting quarterback?
Yeah,
Spencer Rattler?
That show guy or whatever.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing looks like they could win more than 4 games so far, from what I've seen. Like they're showing
the
nothing.
Giants have Jackson Dart, but maybe he's not the guy. Like if they're bad, maybe they get it. And a Manning played there too, right?
Yeah, well, that's another. How many games does Russell have before Dart goes in?
Yeah, right.
You know, like I don't like right now. New York Giants or Jets is where you go to die as a quarterback. I mean, you're not going there. It's not like Pittsburgh where you can go there and not play that great and win 10 games every single year. Mm-hmm. That's not what it's like in those. So, you know, is Russ the starting quarterback week 17?
No. I don't think he's going to be week 6. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I want him to turn it around and have an outstanding year because I love the guy. But you know, as a talking head, I don't see it happening.
And lastly, before we go here, I just want to give a shout out to our buddy Dwayne Mason. He's battling for his. He's battling the big C, is what he's doing, and it's quite the battle. He's not coaching with the Rams this year. Jens Johnson has taken over as running backs coach. So I just reached out to him and just told him I'm thinking about him. But yeah, Dwayne Mason's been great for football in Saskatchewan for a long time.
Definitely has been, you know, F cancer, as we say, you know, I've had enough of that. So, you know, keep on battling, buddy.
Yeah. All right, John, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
You bet. Anytime.
You've watched football a long time, okay? A little longer than me. Do you ever remember a time when there was not one, and I mean not one Canadian punter in the CFL?
I can't remember. You know, you think we've had, you know, great athletes like John Ryan, probably one of the best athletes to play punter. You know, a great receiver with the U of R. Louis Pasaglia, kicker, punter, played receiver with SFU. Yeah, I hadn't dawned on me, Ballsy, that there's no Canadian punters. That's that's a jarring stat when you think of how Canadians have helped to really solidify the CFL.
We haven't heard much from the commissioner. Does that bother you?
On this particular topic, you mean?
No, just in general. Like, we haven't really, he did his initial tour and then we haven't heard anything.
Good point, Ballsy. In some ways, no news is good news, but I think in the CFL, let's face it, if you're not in the prairie provinces, you're not on page one of the sports page. If you're in those centers like in British Columbia, I know the Lions have had some resurrection this year with fan interest, but generally British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, it's an afterthought. So I think more information will be better in terms of the commissioner being visible and valuable.
Brett Lothar is over 80% field goal percentage in his career. He's 22 of 33 this year. They brought in Campbell Fair, if anything, just to push him in practice. I don't know, man. I like Brett Lothar as a person. I like him as a kicker in the past, but I just see him. I don't know, man. He could miss a big kick when you need it most. That's how it's shaping up this year.
Well, Ballsy, as you know, sports is a results-based business. That you're paid to perform, and a kicker, like it or not, the kicker is that one position where 5 or 6 appearances in a game and the fans will judge their performance. And let's face it, when there are kickers right now that are 85-90% accuracy, even from long distances, you've got a kicker like Lothar now who's 2/3 of the time he's making field goals. That's not going to cut it. I think as Rider fans, we don't want to see a repeat of 2004 when McCallum Shanks kick in BC. We don't want to see a repeat of 1992 when Ridgeway slips on the Commonwealth turf and we lose to Edmonton 22-20. The Riders are too good right now to waste it on a shanked field goal or a kick in a playoff game.
A guy who has football PTSD with your Riders and with the NFL. But are you in now? Are you all in on this team? They're 8-1 playing Calgary this week, a rested Calgary team, the only team that handed them a loss. Like you said, they're too good. You said it. So are you in?
I'm going to maybe sound like I'm negative Norman, and I don't want to be that way, Ballsy, but again, maybe because I've seen this movie before. I've seen the Riders start strong in previous years, and then I've seen them not sustain the gains. To me, Ballsy, again, maybe I'm trying to play too much into the Winnipeg sort of aura that's cast over the West right now. Until I make it through the Banjo Bowl. Talk to me after September 6th, after the Banjo Bowl. If the Riders can go 2 of 3 in the next 3. Okay, then I'm firmly on, then something special is happening here. But we've got to find a way to win against the Bombers. And let's face it, the Stamps made us look quite average in the smoke game in early July.
In my lifetime, I can't remember the earliest the Riders have clinched a winning record. It's been a while, hasn't it? Or like earliest part of the season where they've clinched a winning record.
Well, exactly. You think of the years we've had this as Rider fans. We were 14-2 in 1970. They were 13-5 in 2019, in Cody's year when we finished first. So generally, we're 9-9-ish, maybe 10, maybe 11-7. So to be at this juncture is new territory for us. But again, like the Riders, this gauntlet right now, the next 3 games will tell a lot in terms of the Riders' performance.
Okay, so let's get to our picks here. And we'll start with the Thursday night game, Winnipeg and Montreal. I told my son that if they lose to Montreal, they should just all walk back to Winnipeg. They're playing probably a 4th-string quarterback, in Morgan. I don't even know his first. Is it James Morgan? I don't even know his first name, really. Winnipeg's got to have this game. I think Winnipeg does have this game. I think Winnipeg has it by 8 points. They're in Montreal, so it's never totally easy, and they've still got a good team in Montreal. I say Winnipeg by 8.
Yeah, let's look at the Owls right now. They got clobbered by Saskatchewan, and the situation right now that I don't know. Do they need Sonny Wade at quarterback? Do they need to bring in somebody from the 70s? And let's face it, Winnipeg to me is rising right now, ascending, and the Owls, they're tanking right now. So this is clearly Bombers 10 to 14 points.
And what does the computer say?
Oh, has I should look in. Sorry, it has, and this is where I differ with the computer. The computer doesn't know. It doesn't know that Shea Patterson was just signed, and he might even play. Yeah. The computer has the Owls has a slight favorite, 59%. But again, the computer doesn't know who's not playing quarterback for the Owls, and it's not Davis Alexander, and it's not Cody, from the 2022 Grey Cup team.
Mm-hmm. So
Drew 2023.
Yeah, Drew Brown is not playing for Ottawa against Edmonton. I even if he was, I have Edmonton winning. I think Edmonton's on a little bit of an upswing here. I got Edmonton winning that game.
The computer has Ottawa handily, 75% probability. And Ballsy, I'm going to differ with you. I'm going to go with Ottawa, and maybe I'm going to sound like an Ottawa fan, but Ottawa's been my dark horse team all year. They're right now, to me, the CFL's best ever 3-7 team. They're 2-0 against Calgary. They should have beaten Saskatchewan in the season opener. They nearly knocked off the Bombers in Winnipeg. They could easily be 5-5, but again, I see the Red Blacks. Again, recognize that Cody has the Elks right now playing at a high level of football, but I see Ottawa victorious in that game.
Nathan Rourke has never played at BMO Field till now. There was because of injury going to the NFL behind Mike Riley. So he plays in Toronto. He's having a wonderful season for the most part for the BC Lions. Arbuckle hasn't been the problem really for Toronto. I don't see Toronto winning. I think BC wins again.
Yeah, BC wins clearly. To me, the Argo defense is porous. And I know they've had injuries, but every team gets injuries. But they're, to me, a sad reflection of a Grey Cup champion right now. The computer, slight favorite for BC on the road, 52%. But again, I put the Lions 7 to 10 points, victors over the Argos.
It's a weird setup in Toronto, too, with Iben and Shivers co-defensive coordinators, I think.
Yeah, and I'll play a bit of home field advantage here. I know Kevin Iben really well. When I was a prof at Bucknell University, he was in 2 of my courses. To me, an exceptional leader on and off the field, played baseball and football for Bucknell. I'd like to see him be successful. So I hope that the D can turn it around. But again, it's been a real sad state of affairs this year for the Argos.
And let's be honest, the Rider Nation travels well. It still probably travels it does travel the best of any fan base. Now, a lot of that has to do with people from Saskatchewan living in other provinces. But 25,000 tickets plus as we talk right now, so it'll be a nice crowd. Lots of green in the crowd. Mm-hmm. Calgary coming off a bye week. They beat the Riders. They could take a huge step here to solidifying first place in the CFL West, or having a good chance at it if they can win this game. How does the computer see this one going?
The computer loves the Riders.
They do,
57%, so as a road favorite. 57% in favor of the green and white. Again, notwithstanding the fact that the Stampeders beat Saskatchewan in Mosaic about 6 weeks ago, but it's just seeing the fact that the Riders have won their last 2 games by a combined score of 63-15. So the Riders on a real heater right now, and it's going all in on the Riders for this upcoming game against Calgary.
So I think it's going to come down to the line play. Calgary's line play was much better than the Riders' line play. It's a little hard to gauge when it was a delayed smoke game. Like, I don't want to be too harsh on the Riders, but Calgary had way more adversity, and they destroyed the Riders. Like, that game flattered the Riders. But I got Saskatchewan by 4. I think the Riders go to 9-1.
As a Rider fan, when I look at when the Riders play road games in the Prairies, Edmonton and Calgary, again, Saskatchewan has not lost to the Elks ever at Commonwealth since the Elks rebranded. The Riders do really, really well in Calgary. They haven't won in Manitoba in 7 years. But I got the Riders winning a very close game in Calgary. I think they're going to remember the smoke game from 6 weeks ago. The Riders' defensive line, that rotation of 9 athletes they're putting out there is phenomenal. I'm concerned about the Riders' secondary, but if the Riders can get enough pressure from their front 7 on the Calgary quarterback, on VA, I think it's an opportunity for the Riders to really take a big step forward for the playoffs in the West. Yeah,
I agree. I see the Riders losing the back-to-back against the Blue Bombers. I know I'm biased. I'm Bomber Ballsy, but I see the Riders. Winnipeg's going to have a 10-day rest, depending on how the Thursday game goes, and if they get through relatively unscathed, they get a 10-day rest or 9 days off in between games. They're getting some guys back healthy. Schoen will be back. Logan's playing this week. And they got something to prove. I know for a fact the Bombers have been waiting. They've been waiting on this 2-game or this 3-game season series, because they knew they'd won the one against BC. The Edmonton one isn't done yet. They're 1 game up. They knew they weren't winning the Calgary one, regardless of the one they blew in Calgary. And they've been waiting on this Rider one.
And Ballsy, when you think of fans who travel, again, this is that 1 game a year when you're going to see, I don't know, probably 4,000 or 5,000 Winnipeg fans in the stands. So I'm thinking ahead for the Labor Day Classic. Again, I'll reserve a prediction until after I see the Calgary result. But if the Riders go 2-1 in the next 3, I'm delighted. If they're 1-2, I can take it. If they're 0-for, I think then you're going to see paranoia hit Rider Nation.
Yeah, you might be into the whole here it goes again. But listen, that's why you stack the early season equity with these wins, because inevitably there's going to be a little bit of a downward slide. And just big picture, back in the camera up, what does the Commodore 64 see for playoffs, crossovers, all that type of stuff?
Interesting, Ballsy, you mentioned crossovers, because over the past 2 weeks, the probability of a crossover has skyrocketed. Right now, 57%. The computer believes 57% probability that we'll see 4 Western teams in the playoffs. Again, you just look at the past week where all 4 Western teams won has home favorites against their Eastern opponents. Edmonton is playing really, really well. So again, I think the computer sees the crossover as a definite possibility. And you think you head to a Grey Cup. The computer was generating some matchups, and you've talked about the Saskatchewan-Winnipeg epic. If that were to occur right now, a 1.6% probability. So again, it's not unlikely. The computer has, about 16 out of every 1,000 iterations of the computer model. It was giving us the Winnipeg going through the East and then hosting Saskatchewan on the 3rd Sunday in November in Winnipeg.
Okay, and so I don't want to jinx you being a Rider fan, but this is how long have you been doing this for now? These simulations?
Since 2014.
And isn't this the best the computers ever, like the most the computers ever liked the Riders?
Yeah, I had the unenviable task of basically beginning this model the year after the Riders won the Grey Cup. And in fact, I started doing it right when Darian Durant was injured in the Banjo Bowl, which basically put the Riders into a decade-long snooze fest. So we've had, from the Riders' perspective, other than 2017 with a brief glimmer where they did well, and 2019 with finishing first, it's been a sad state of affairs. So typically, by September, the computer model has the Riders as an outcast, maybe getting a crossover. It's interesting now to sort of see them as sort of that front runner in the West, at least for now.
Keith, thanks for this. Get better. I know you're under the weather, so and enjoy the game. It's however it shakes down, this is going to be a classic battle on the prairies.
It is. It's going to be a great next 3 weeks of football in the prairies. We're looking forward to a Ballsy.